And welcome to our Spotlight Matthew devotional study for today. Let us remember that we are making our way through the entire Gospel of Matthew, passage by passage, sometimes even verse by verse, looking also at the bigger sections in which Matthew is unpacking for us the greatest story of all, the story of Jesus. And we remember that on one hand, Matthew is a wonderful historian who tells us the facts and relates to us the biography of Jesus. And yet on the other hand, Matthew is very much a theologian. He wants us to see the identity of Jesus revealed, and he wishes that we would understand the purpose for which Jesus has come into this world. And so we now are finishing up our section on the third block of Jesus' teaching. First one, the Sermon on the Mount. The second one, the mini missions manual. And this third one, the parables of the kingdom, comprised of all of the verses found in Matthew chapter 13. And so this final section actually rounds things off, and it has to do with two groups of people who are moving different directions. You'll recall that we introduced early on in this chapter that Jesus uses the parables on one hand to reveal the kingdom to some people, for those to whom the kingdom has been given, but on the other hand to conceal the kingdom from others who are dull of heart and disinterested, or perhaps even opposed to Jesus' kingdom proclamation. And so we run into these two groups in this final section of Chapter 13, first of all, in verses 51 and 52, the group that is moving towards the kingdom, for whom these parables are revealing the good things of God to them, the gospel of God. And then in verses 50 through 58, that second group to whom concealing is occurring because of their hardness of heart and their dullness to hear what Jesus would have to say. So as I read this passage, listen first of all for those who are receiving the revelation, and then those who are not and are indeed moving towards the darkness. The first group is the disciples. The second group, the people from his hometown of Nazareth. So, beginning in verse 51, Jesus says to the disciples, "Have you understood these things?" These things Jesus has been teaching in the parables. And they said to him, "Yes." Jesus then said to them, "Therefore every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven," meaning the disciples, "is like a master of a house who brings out his treasure, what is new and what is old." Verse 53, "And when Jesus had finished these parables, he went away from there, and coming to his hometown, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished, and they said, 'Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And are not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And are not all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all of this?' And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, 'A prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and in his own household.' And he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief." So here we have it. First of all, we'll start with the group that is getting it, for whom things are being revealed, and that is the disciples. He says, "Do you understand what I've been teaching? Are you picking up what I've been laying down as you've listened to these parables?" And indeed, remember, as they asked for Jesus to give the interpretation so that they would understand. And they simply answer, "Yes, Jesus, this is indeed leading us deeper into understanding what your kingdom is all about." And indeed, Jesus then says, "Good. This is what Jesus intends. They're his disciples. They're to be learning. They're to be growing. They're to be getting deeper in their understanding and commitment." Remember, all the way back when Jesus called the four fishermen, he said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And we emphasize that Jesus just didn't want to teach them things. He wanted to make them into something, like a potter molds and fashions clay to make it into a pitcher or a vase or some other sort of container. And so Jesus is discipling them. He's their rabbi and their teacher. They're being mentored by Jesus, and Jesus says, good, as you continue to grow and be fashioned and formed in the things of the kingdom, you will become like a teacher, like a master scholar who is able to bring out both new things and old things from your treasure to teach and to present others with this gospel message. Certainly Jesus didn't mean it at the time, but we might liken it in our day to our growth in the faith so that we know the scriptures and we're able to go into our old treasure in the Old Testament and to bring it out to reveal the things of God. And we're able conversantly to go to our new treasure, the New Testament, and likewise to unfold and explain the things of the kingdom, hopefully that people will see it revealed and not harden their hearts in a way that conceals it from them. So Jesus gives a positive indication about those to whom the things of the kingdom are being revealed in his disciples. But then, I think the contrast is intentional. Jesus turns and gives the flip side of the coin. He and the disciples go to Nazareth, Jesus' hometown. And the response there is not positive. They look at Jesus and say, well, how can he be so wise? How can this one be so knowledgeable? Didn't he just grow up here in our town? Do we not have is this not the son of the carpenter, Joseph? Is not Mary from among us? And what of his brothers and sisters? We know them all. How can he be the prophet? How can he be this mighty man, speaking this kingdom word and performing such works of healing, deliverance from among the people of Israel? And they take, and this is the key word, they take offense at Jesus. We're offended at you, Jesus. You know, one of the singer-songwriters of the 70s was a man named Keith Green, and he captured this spirit beautifully in one of his songs where he wrote, "Isn't this Jesus? Isn't this Joseph and Mary's son? But didn't he grow up right here? He played with our children." What? You must be kidding. He thinks he's a prophet? But prophets don't grow up from little boys, do they? And indeed, that was the attitude for the people in the hometown of Nazareth. They refused to have faith. They were among those who were hardening their hearts and dulling their ears and closing their eyes, refusing to see lest they be forgiven and lest they be healed. And this little passage caps off by Matthew reporting to us that Jesus was unable to do many great works in Nazareth because those people just didn't believe. They wouldn't put faith in what Jesus could do, and therefore they did not see the mighty works of God through Jesus. For a greater commentary on all of this, I direct you to Luke chapter 4, which gives an extended version of what happened when Jesus visited his hometown of Nazareth. But here we have indeed the cap off to all of these parables that we have found, the 7 parables in chapter 13. And I hope you can see once again these twin themes. Jesus teaching in parables, which are illustrations that tell the message of the kingdom or that carry the message of the kingdom. And on one hand, some are being drawn to the kingdom through the teaching of Jesus, but on the other hand, there are others who are being pushed away and falling away and eliminating themselves by their own choices from the teaching of Christ. They are moving opposite directions. And this is indeed the salutary message of Jesus for us. Which direction am I moving? Which direction are you moving? Which direction are family members, our relatives, our associates, our neighbors in our community? Let us indeed pray for them, that their eyes may be opened and their hearts moved, and that our hearts will ever stay open and desirous for the kingdom of heaven and the word of Jesus, who is the center, the autobasileon, the one who carries the kingdom in his very own being. So that's a look at Matthew chapter 13, the parables of the kingdom. And we will turn next time to a new section which has to do with the training of the 12, chapters 14 through chapter 20 of the Gospel of Matthew, and we will introduce that in our next devotional study. Thanks so much for being with us. check us out, as always, spotlightgoodnews.com for all kinds of other good resources to grow your Christian life. And remember, at Spotlight Good News Ministries, we learn to live and we live to serve, always to the glory of God. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.